um, have Mr. Dwayne Vaz invited here with us, right? Who is working quite diligently, right, in his constituency. Sorry, constitution, in his constituency, right? A lot of people love his energy that he is bringing in, and his style of politics, right, so far is well accepted, and we love what he's doing. We have done some research, and we have gotten good and strong feedback where this candidate is concerned. Mr. Dwayne Vaz, I want to say thank you to make it on the Mystic Sensation. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I'm doing good, and I want to say I'm happy to be here. And I want to say good evening to both of you, everybody in studio, and
Yes.
also to all your viewers and listeners. So I want to say good evening to you all.
All right.
Good
Thank you.
evening, Mr. Vaz. So my name is Anne Marie, and you've already met Baron.
All right. Okay.
Right.
So yes, Dwayne, you don't mind I just call you by your first name,
No,
sir?
man. That's a do
All
it.
right. Okay, good. Okay, so I've done a little research, and I see where you were also president of the PNP YO some
Yes,
time ago. Is that correct?
yeah, that's correct. In my constituency, parish, and region, but not for
Oh,
the national body.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, no,
But
that's a good one.
I've served as the YO chairman for Central Westmoreland,
Yes.
As a parish, and for Region 6, which is the
Okay.
region that constitutes Hanover, Westmoreland, and St. James.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. So you're actually in the Cornwall region as it
Yes.
relates to what? Cornwall, Middlesex, and Surrey. So you're in the Cornwall
Yes, we're in
region.
the Cornwall region.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Dwayne, I've as it relates to your portfolio, right? I want you to just define your pre-political career prior into get into the politics. Tell us your pre-political career.
All right. Well, as it really started through my first means of employment, which was the Social Development Commission. But I'll take you back a little bit before I went there, because I actually studied hotel management at the University of the West Indies. But what
Oh,
really happened is that when I graduated, the September 11 bombing of 2001 was still affecting the industry. So when I graduated 2002, the majority of us who were in that year group found it difficult to get jobs in the tourism sector at that point in time. So naturally, we started looking elsewhere because we have to make ends meet. We had student loans to pay and stuff like that.
yes.
So I got a job with the Social Development Commission. And what happened starting there, well, I can say I've never ended up working in the hotel industry after that. I began loving representation because I was a community development officer. So I was going out and organizing communities. I started being around persons who were affiliated to the People's National Party. I won't call any names, but my supervisor at the time was there. And my counselor, who is the longest serving counselor, well, one of the longest serving counselors in Jamaica, Devon Dandan Thomas, who is the counselor for the North South Division in Central Westmoreland. He was
Mhm.
one of those persons who I met at the time, started talking about politics. My family was already aligned to the People's National Party. They weren't activists, but they were supporters. So I decided to join from the youth organization level. Then I became the chairman for Central Westmoreland, moved on to Westmoreland and Region 6, as I stated earlier. And I started loving politics from then. That time, Dr. Carl Blight was still the member of parliament in Central Westmoreland.
Yes.
After that, and when Roger Clark came, I started working as his CDF officer, which we call a constituency consultant. So I was
Hmm.
very close to him, working in those different areas. And I just got to love it more and more every day. And by time I completed my master's, which I was doing at the same time with the University of New Orleans, I decided I wanted to go full force in the politics. So I started doing all the necessary things I needed to do while working with comrade Roger Clark. It was a very good experience. And so the rest is history. At the time, I can make it clearly and state now if Roger was still alive, I think Roger was still be the member of parliament. So I was not
Yes.
thinking of being the MP at that point in time, because
Yes.
I was just there playing my supportive roles with the councillors, with the member of parliament, and just doing what I think was necessary to ensure victory for the People's National Party. But as God would have it, Raja passed untimely, we should say, because nobody expected that. That opportunity came up. I was in that position, so I threw my hat in the ring. Went through a selection, as you probably would have remembered, and
Yes.
then became the member of parliament. So getting in politics, it came by chance initially, but after that chance, through the SDC and learning about community development, I then started loving the political aspect of it.
All
And being
right.
a part of the PNP, there was no other way I was going to head apart from trying to reach into the Parliament of Jamaica. And I was there, and I plan to get back there very soon.
Okay. You spoke as it relates to the sort of your family that
Yes.
really links with the People's National Party.
Yes.
But here you are, and that you could make a personal choice. You want to tell us why that your personal choice choose the People's National Party as a vehicle, right, to harness your talent of
Well,
representation.
from
Tell
a,
us.
from an early age, even though they were aligned, as I said, they weren't activists. They were the supporters, so there wouldn't be people who telling you every day that you have to support the People's National Party. But
Yes.
I did my own research. I knew that the People's National Party was the party for the people, the party that implementing the majority of far-reaching legislations in Jamaica that has put us where we are today. So I knew that, and I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be a part of that change that makes the masses of Jamaica better. And when I hear people making comparisons now and say they can't find a difference between the PNP and the JLP, the simple difference is that the JLP accepts the status quo and the PNP tries to change it. We get a lot of hits for it. But that's the fact of the matter. We try to change it, and we will always try to change it, because our belief is that the masses of people must benefit from whatever policies and programs are put in our country called Jamaica.
Okay. And I like how you speak about the JLP maintaining the status quo. And just let me just further give some explanation to that, because we know that the Jamaica Labour Party is somewhat tied with capitalism, and People's
Yes,
National Party tied with the democratic socialism. We're talking about opportunity that needs to be permeated, giving every single Jamaican that opportunity to ride along, right? Providing, right, that of course they are pursuing, right, upward mobility, right,
exactly.
for themselves and their family. And as you said, that the People's National Party is the vehicle for that success in terms of passing many legislation that even created several social programs,
Exactly.
Dwayne, right, that help several people. And people need to understand, and this is one of the reasons why I asked that question, right, for persons, why did you choose the People's National Party as opposed to the Jamaica Labour Party? We know that
Yes.
there are other parties out there, but third party that have never, been successful in terms of being in government. So we are talking about the two party. At times, Jamaica is quite polarized as it relates to JLP and PNP. But
True.
you made a choice as it relates to the culture of the People's National Party and the principle of which it was found on. Right. So that begs for the second question coming to you, Mr. Vaz. Right. Explain, right, top four priorities of your party becoming the next incumbent government. What would be your top four priorities?
Well, even I think most of these priorities, because I'm arguing from a constituency basis, I might be biased towards my constituency, but I think my constituency reflects what is happening in Jamaica. So
Exactly.
one is crime, and obviously the government has failed with regards to crime fighting. And if you're in power from 2016 until now and you're still saying you have strategies that you're going to put in place, it is obvious that you don't have any strategies, because if you had them, you'd have put them in place from before. Because I'm sure nobody likes to see murders climbing every day. So unless it's
Yeah.
a government that likes to see put the homicide rate high, then
Yes.
they could say that. But I think it's incompetence that has caused it. So crime is a major priority we must face, and we have to look
Yeah.
at not only hardcore policing, which is very necessary and which we think we need some more of in Jamaica right now, but you have to understand the correlation between the social programs and crime. And when I mention social programs, I'm mentioning different areas like education, where if you motivate students and find different ways to enhance learning, then naturally people will have a more positive mindset and move in more positive ways. When you talk
Mm,
about sports, which this government does not seem to take seriously, we use the recent examples of even the lights in the stadium, not having a cricket World Cup in Jamaica. There's a few. It is obvious that this government doesn't understand the correlation between sports and crime, because when the communities are actively participating in sporting activities, you tend to have a trend of crime going down. So you have to
yeah.
understand both correlations. When you look at job creation, I myself had a job fair last October because I don't see anybody from the government side, apart from
Mhm.
sometimes the ministry has some, but not as effective as the one I have. I can clear the state. But what I'm saying is that when you have more opportunities for young persons or people on a whole, they're less likely to choose the negative route. Also, entertainment is a very important thing we need to look at when we tie in people finding ways to enjoy themselves compared to finding negative things to do. So it's a wholesome approach that must be taken to fight crime. As I said, the hardcore policing is totally necessary, but we must incorporate the social programs and do them effectively in order to have a wholesome change in our crime numbers. And we must see the crime numbers go down. So that is one of the priorities I have. The second one, of course, is infrastructure. And when you
Yes.
look at the road network across Jamaica, yes, there are improvements with the highway, which we started, of course, and we're
Yes.
happy the government is continuing on that vein. But apart from the highway, there are many major roads in Jamaica that are in deplorable conditions. And we
Mm,
have known from day one that when you have good road networks, productivity increases. So we have to improve
yes.
the road networks as part of infrastructure, the water situation. We must be able to have persons having access to water, electricity. We need to improve on the level of electricity regularization that is going on. In my constituency, I can say since I regularized about 5 communities in my time, there has not been one single project that the government has done. So these are areas we must look at. Land regularization, I will be biased towards my constituency for that one. I know that
Mhm.
people outside of Westport is always amused when they see houses being moved on tractors and stuff. And the
Yes.
reason why you find the movement of these houses is because of the lack of land ownership. People don't own the lands for the most part. So people are afraid to build permanent structures on these lands. So they opt to build board houses, which in case they need to move because they only lease the land and the lease is up and won't be renewed, or they capture the land and people come for it and they have to move. They build these houses which they can move to another spot in case that happens. So we must regularize these settlements and make people have their own piece of title to show that they own this piece of rock in this island.
Perfect.
Agriculture is another major thing we must look at. We were kings of agriculture when sugar was king, Westward and especially. But we must face the fact now that sugar is on the decline and we must find alternative crops to replace sugar. If I had my way, cannabis would be the way to go. I think it is the crop that can generate the necessary revenue, whether locally or internationally, that can create that amount of opportunities for our country. So, but we must look at the regulations that are there and find ways to change or relax some of these regulations so that more people can get involved in the cannabis industry. Where it is now, this is being stifled based on the regulations. And it was just recently, even New York, I think, as a state,
Mhm.
changed the classification of the drug because ganja is not seen again in some areas as a drug, but as a
Yes.
medical product that can be used that has many different benefits. I think that is the way we should go. So those 4 priority areas I think we must look at, as I stated: crime, infrastructure, land regularization, agriculture. We must look at those areas if we're going to move our country to the next level.
Perfect. And I glad as it relates to the 4 pivotal areas that you have touched as it relates to crime, infrastructure, agriculture, and land regulation. But I want to touch back a little with crime, because that is the fundamental.
Yes.
All of the 4 that you have pointed out. Well done. Let me say that, because what I am hearing from you, what I'm getting from you, right, is you're a person that identifying the problem, right, and not just identifying the problem, but you move further than that in terms of suggesting, right, the reasonable, right, solutions for these problems. Because
Yes.
everything that you've said, right, that is the way to go, and I do agree with what you are saying there. But when we look on crime, I am going to push you a little on crime. When you look on crime, right, we have seen that the People's National Party handed over the baton of crime as it relates to 1,208, right, persons being murdered, number 3, right, and as a result of the Jamaica Labour Party, who was criticizing the People's National Party at the time. But what we are seeing now under the government of the Jamaica Labour Party, as we speak, is not able to get down the crime to at least 1,208, where Portia Simpson had left it. I know that, of course, Dwayne, but I'm just picking your brain a bit, that you are not the government that need to answer this government, need to answer this question. But what do you think that this government is doing wrong?
Well, the first thing they did, remember that Unite for Change program that we had? They basically scrapped that program as they came in. And that was a social program that was working. The minister also went on record saying that social programs are not helping with the fighting of crime, which means that they don't take social programs seriously, or they don't understand the correlation between these social activities and the level of crime. So what they have done wrong, they have not invested enough in those activities. And I notice a lot of times they spend more time with the investing in the military and not in the JCF. And the JCF, the JCF would be the ones who have direct contact with persons on a daily basis, apart from when you have a SOE or a ZOZA when the soldiers are coming into play. But generally speaking, we must invest more in the Jamaica Constabulary Force. We must invest in the intelligence aspect of it, where we can be able to solve a lot of these crimes that we can't solve now. And we have too many repeat offenders. We have the system is just not working the way it is supposed to work. And as I said, it takes a collaborative effort. It takes a combination of different things in order to get it done. So they have not been successful in doing that. Well, they have failed miserably. Miserably, I must say. And they came into the elections with the popular talk of cars. They were able to sleep with their windows and doors open if they were in power. But no, I don't think you have had an investment in grills and houses like what we are having right now. So they have failed miserably, and we really need to get back in power to curtail this ugly monster culture.
Right. Well, I love how you're punching away on these questions. Right. Okay. Let me just pick the brain again. February 26th, our local government election.
Yes.
Right. And of course, the PNP had done what many, right, believe that the PNP couldn't able to do, but the PNP was successful and obviously won the local government election. But in your particular area, as a result of the People's National Party winning that local government election, that local government election, the people in your area wasn't having that bad experience as it relates to water crisis and so forth and so forth. But after that local government win there by majority of the people in your area voted for the People's National Party, obviously. Now I'm asking you directly, right? Do you believe that the crisis there is more of a control crisis or it's a seasonal crisis? Go ahead and shoot at it.
It's more of a control crisis, or
A seasonal crisis.
well, to be honest with you, my own opinion, I would have to really have the facts to determine exactly what it is. I know there is a fact that there's a drought. I know that. And the issue we're having is the water distribution issue. I can't say it is, I don't want to say it is controlled because I really don't know. But we have had, it is, I'm not sure if it's coincidental that because after the election, then the water system got worse. I can't speak to that. But the fact is, it really got worse. But the reason why it got worse, I leave that to persons to try to form their own opinions on that. But yes, we know there is a drought situation, as I stated earlier. The problem we're having in Jamaica now is not availability of water; it's the distribution and access to it.
Okay.
So there are many areas that in Jamaica where you still can't get access to water. There are many areas who used to have access to water that are now having issues with getting water. We understand that we have more and more people coming on, but what the government needs to understand is that we must improve infrastructure to match with the growing demand in different communities. We have not improved the infrastructure for water in many years. And since they have taken power, even my constituency, there has never been a water project in my constituency. While I was there as MP, I initiated two different projects. One where a community didn't have water from 2007, that is Highgate, and improving the Harmony Town water situation in Savlamar. They are now having water issues again since the local government elections. So the reason the NWC is saying is that a lot of the infrastructure is old and outdated. And because more people are coming on, they are having issues supplying. The drought has complicated that. But what we have to look at as a comprehensive effort in Westmoreland. The shadow spokesperson water recently made a lot of suggestions that we can use. The major suggestion though was combining the carburetor water supply with the Roaring River. Currently, Roaring River is the one that supplies Westmoreland. The carburetor is another perennial river, always full of water, but has never been used. The NWC has a report stating that it is possible to harvest 17 million gallons of water from the carburetor alone on a daily basis. So what we're suggesting is to combine the carburetor with the Roaring River so we can have more access to water, not only for Westmoreland, but for Hanover also. So it is just how we go about this distribution, as I said, because water is in Jamaica. It is just not as accessible as it should be. And we have to ensure that when we return to government, we make it accessible because it doesn't seem like they are listening to any of the suggestions we are making. So, of course, when we get back in power, we have to ensure we implement these things and get it right.
Yes, as it relates to access to, right? I want to just ask another question where that is concerned, because as it relates to National Water Commission, right,
Yes.
and having that monopoly, right? Do you believe that there is no space for competition? Have you ever think along that lines?
Yes, I've thought about it, just like with the JPS, because when you have a monopoly dealing with stuff like that, it makes it difficult for the beneficiaries, the persons who are supposed to benefit from it. So
Exactly.
it's a major thing, something we must look into, something we must try to figure out. Just like with the phone, the telecommunications industry. Remember when we only had cable and wireless at the time, and since digital came in, they had to step up their game also, and it made you had a choice now of where to go. But with water and light, you don't really have a choice. You have to just work with what is there. So competition will help if it is available. And I think that is something we have to really think about seriously and put it in the right and effective way.
I love that. All right. I'm going to get in a little deep water here because it's a hot button issue within the last 2 weeks, right? Now, what is your input on dual citizenship making representation in the Jamaican Parliament? And let me just stretch on this question. I am not talking about Commonwealth only, because the diaspora is large.
Yes.
Right? Jamaica occupied roughly about, say, 3 million to 3.5 million, and the diaspora likewise, right?
Yes.
Might be another 3.5 million. And the 3.5 million as it relates to the diaspora, right, combined between Commonwealth and other, right, that out of, and so then as it relates to participation, right, in the electoral process and representation, what is your input on dual citizenship making representation in the Jamaican Parliament?
All right. Well, first, I must say this dual citizenship issue has made me realize how many persons in Jamaica are not aware of what is in the Constitution. I have always upheld or tried to uphold the Constitution as best as I possibly can. It is an opportune time for persons also, the fact that we're in discussions now of changing the Constitution, for them to get in their views, especially with this dual citizenship thing. It has never been an issue before because of, based on what the Constitution states, which states that Commonwealth citizens are able to participate. It has never been an issue. It has always been there. But all of a sudden now, it has become a big issue and everybody has an opinion on it. My own personal perspective, as I said, as long as it is okay within the rules and laws of Jamaica, I have no issue with it. If we go ahead and change the Constitution and say that persons cannot represent if they are dual citizenship, I still would not have an issue with it. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as somebody has Jamaican citizenship and they're upholding the rules and laws of Jamaica, then, which would mean they are adhering to the Constitution, then I have no issue with them sitting in the Parliament as it stands right now.
Okay. Bearing to the fact that when you look on, persons in the diaspora,
Yes,
right, and you look on remittance, right, as it relates to, 3 billion and sometime a little bit over that, coming from, the diaspora,
yes,
right, and you have a system in government that would want to move towards, right, saying that they don't need to participate in the electoral process, right? For me, in terms of subjectively, I think I personally have a problem with that, right? But however, right, but as you said, right, that you are willing to obey the law, and nothing wrong with that, right, in terms of you obeying the law, right? Now, let us move to this question, right, as it relates to what we have seen now playing out when it comes to illicit enrichment, another wrongdoing that politicians, right, involved with, right,
yes.
all sort of unethical behavior, right? And so then that question begs to ask you, do you believe that an impeachment act must be entrenched in our Constitution? And if your answer is yes, tell us why.
I don't think it has to be in the Constitution because there are already provisions made in the current Constitution to deal with people who are not upholding the laws of the land. So, for example, MPs and senators, there are provisions already there in the Constitution for them to face the courts if they are being unlawful. And the issue with the impeachment thing is that not like what is currently there, where you can go to the courts and be dealt with by a judge. If you're going to be impeached, you're actually being dealt with by sometimes persons who are politically motivated, sometimes people who don't necessarily have the experience of trying somebody. So it can be very biased, and that is the issue that I have with it. What we can do is strengthen what we have already, because I think our law states as long as somebody is found guilty and in prison for 6 months or more, from a reach 6 months, you have to vacate the parliament anyway. So probably we can change that law and don't have the 6 month requirement in it as long as somebody is convicted, if it's even for your sentence is 1 day or 2 days. The fact that you were convicted of such an offense that is considered unlawful, then it can be dealt with from the court level. But as I said, the issue with the impeachment is the political bias that might come with it. And as long as you are able to influence persons in that particular way, then it is easier for you to have a biased result than if you go through the courts of Jamaica. And the same thing, separating the whole judiciary thing from the political part of it. If you use the impeachment, you will be actually going against that principle also. So it's something that is really up for discussion. I would love to hear being a discussion where everybody shows the pros and cons of all of this, and then we could come to a final decision. But in my own personal opinion, as it stands now, I think we can strengthen the current laws that we have to deal with any parliamentarian who is out of order.
Okay. All right. Let me come from a different angle with that.
Yes.
Right. Where you have the prime minister of a country, right, may run afoul of the law.
Yes.
Where you may have statutory declarations, right, going consistently, right, within 2 or 3 years, and the justice system, right, failed to pursue, right, a charge as implemented into the Impeachment Act, that if you state falsely on your statutory declaration, right, that is a problem, right? And where you have a prime minister in such position, right, and the court is not working, couldn't we have, when we have an impeachment act, right, installed here, and if we did have the opposition having the numbers now, right, wouldn't that be utilized in a very successful way to discipline the prime minister? I'm just asking.
Well, again, to impeach him or impeach anybody, you would have to have the numbers, as I said.
Exactly.
And if you don't have the numbers, for example, in the case of the government in Jamaica right now, if you should
Yes.
try to do something like that to a government member, for example,
Yes.
it would.
But no, where I wanted to stick, sorry to interject there. Where I want to for you to stick on is where we have, right, a number that can oppose and deal. I want to show the effectiveness of the impeachment.
Yes.
Impeachment. So we are not talking. We're not giving a scenario as it relates to the opposing side not having the number, right? I want to show you the pros from that end.
From that end.
When you have the number, right, it can bring about a solution, and that is why, to me, right,
Yes.
I believe that an impeachment act must be entrenched in the Constitution.
Well, it's something up for discussion. I think some countries have used it. When I've read some of the reports, though, it seems like it has been inefficient based on what they have said. It has been biased sometimes. So it's something we have to ensure we discuss in detail before we take that road. It has been there, but I don't think much serious discussion has been had on it. And that's why I think it should be really delved into a bit more, where people really fledge out all the positives and negatives of it, and then we come to a final decision. So it's either strengthening what you have already or bringing in the impeachment clause, as I said. But I was thinking from that perspective, for it not to be politically motivated, if we strengthen the current laws we have, I think we could achieve the same objectives. So just like how in some, like probably in our country now, where we're having with the statutory declaration issue that is going on, I think if we strengthen our laws to ensure that persons have to be held accountable for their actions, then we wouldn't even have to think about that. But as I said, it's a discussion we must have, so we can then decide what is the best way to go when it comes down to that particular law.
Okay, fair enough. I know you have a little situation with the Integrity Commission investigators, right? I am not going to get into the detail of that, but I just want to ask you, generally, what is your position on the muzzle clause, section 53, subsection 3 of the Integrity Commission Act? Do you believe same should be amended to reflect transparency in allowing the investigators to speak on investigation, providing that the evidence is valid and substantial? What say
Before I get to
you?
the gag order, you said you didn't want to say anything about my thing, but let us state categorically clear that that
Yes,
case has been completed. I was
yes,
charged. The fine,
yeah,
the same fine that I told you from day one was the issue. I have been
yes.
telling people from the first day that it was a fine that was the issue from day one. I was
Okay,
charged with fine yesterday, it was paid, and that
yes,
case is now closed. It was never a case of not submitting the documents. My documents were submitted and certified, not like
yes.
some people that we hear of. Mine has been
Okay,
certified. So I just
yes.
wanted to make that clear. With
And I'm glad
regards
you make it clear.
with regards to the gag order, um, personally, I don't think there should be a gag order. I don't think so. I understand where it is coming from, where because the way how people are judged nowadays, I can use my own situation.
Yes,
Nowadays, people just read a headline, not even reading the story, and form their
exactly.
perceptions of a person. That is
Yes,
how news is nowadays. So I think what the gag order, the point they're coming from is that if it is said in the public that an investigation is being held on Dwayne Vaz, for example, before anybody tries to find out what the investigation is, they start condemning Dwayne Vaz and say Dwayne Vaz is a criminal. That is the way how we think nowadays, and that is the reason why I think they were putting in that gag order for to avoid that situation. But in my own opinion, as I said, I don't think it should be there. I think um, if you are being investigated for something like, especially if it is already in the public domain, it is no issue for them to say we're investigating this person on this issue. So I really think there shouldn't be one. But
yes,
I know as it stands now there is. And as I said, with somebody from my experience who have gone through the trenches where people drag me through without knowing the true story, I
yes.
understand that that is where they are coming from. But as I said, if you are being investigated for something that everybody knows about, for example, I don't see any issue in letting the Integrity Commission say we are investigating these people. So, for
Oh,
example, that illicit six argument that they have been talking about from many months ago, it is only fair for the country to know who these persons are that they are investigating and what is the basis for investigating them so people can have an understanding of what is really happening.
okay, good. On a scale from 1 to 10, right? How effective that you would grade the Integrity Commission investigators as it relates to the level of work that they're doing and the transparency behind their work?
Well, I can only speak from my own experience, you know. I really don't know what investigative works they are doing otherwise because from my experience, I had a simple issue and I was dragged before the courts. And I've been hearing that even the Prime Minister has not been certified for 3 years and I'm not hearing anything about that. So I don't know if the investigations are geared towards some and not for others. That is a question we'd have to ask the Integrity Commission. So if I should grade them from my own experience and based on what I'm already hearing in the public domain about others, then I would have to give them a failing grade because the priorities are obviously wrong.
Well, and you know the reason for me to ask that question, because we have the Prime Minister statutory declaration going onward 3 years, right? And obviously no justification coming from that, right? Where the Prime Minister statutory declaration cannot be certified, right? It just doesn't make any sense,
Doesn't make any
right?
sense at all.
And we can't, and this is it. And I'm glad the way how you answer the question. Very prudent. Because when you look at it, what would be the reason as it relates to, okay, for the Integrity Commission to say, all right, we are taking a zero tolerance, right, approach in terms of investigation. But here we have a Dwayne Vaz that, as a result of, few things that need to be come in, and I am going to drag him in front of the court. And here you have the Prime Minister, obviously, right? Because this is not nothing hiding, right? Has a statutory declaration situation that hangs over his head. And in extension, right, leads to illicit enrichment. That's what it's all about, right? So then, what is happening as it relates to the system measuring fairly in dealing with every single person, right? And I think I am going to agree with you, Wayne, that we need to see a level of fairness as it relates to the investigation, as it relates to, there's nothing wrong in terms of what the Integrity Commission had done in terms of, whatever document outstanding and so forth. But likewise, they need to show the same vein, right, of approach when it comes to Andrew Holness. And we are going to speak about that. Now, what is your position on our Prime Minister's statutory declaration going 3 years, not certified? Because we are just discussing this, so might as well I ask you that. What is your position?
It's an untenable situation. There's no way the leader of the country should not be the one upholding the law. I think the Prime Minister should be the first person whose declarations are certified, because he's the person leading the country. It does not look good from our international partners also looking into know that our Prime Minister is not certified by the Integrity Commission. There's no way you should be leading neither a party nor a country if you are in such a situation. So I really think it's an embarrassment to Jamaica, and it's something that people should take seriously. It's really sad sometimes when I realize how people can get politically biased in a situation like this, where you're looking at a leader who cannot certify and people don't see anything wrong with it. But I guess that's where we are sometimes as a country. But we have to educate people and let them understand, because the regular civil servants have to declare. So why the head civil servant of this country, the head servant of this country, is not able to certify? The questions are there to be answered. They must be answered. And we are imploring that the Integrity Commission puts their foot down on this one and let Jamaica know what is really happening with the statutory declarations of Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness needs to come forward and explain to Jamaica what is happening with his own personal statutory declarations right now.
Listening to you, Dwayne, right, my heart just grinch, right? And as it relates to my society, as it relates to my people, how do we reach here, right? Seems like we are numb to the fact that we have a Prime Minister that is statutory declaration for 3 years, right? Cannot be certified. Cannot be certified. Now, if you are to make comparison, there is no Prime Minister in the entire Caribbean, as we speak, where the statutory declaration going 3 years uncertified. And not only that, right, Dwayne, I am seeing the sort of arrogance, right? It seems like it's like corruption being normalized.
That is a problem.
This is how it looks. And on top of that, right, we have a PSOJ, Private Sector of Jamaica, the umbrella group of churches, and they don't see nothing wrong with this. They don't see nothing wrong with this.
And that's why I'm really asking Jamaicans, persons in different sectors, to really stand up on this issue, because it is not, as I said, it's embarrassing. We should never be in such a situation in Jamaica. There's no leader that should be in such a situation. And it's not 1 year, it's not 2 years, it's 3 years. How long are we going to continue? 4 or 5 before somebody really shows us what is happening? So if we're going to deal with certain people certain way, I think it should be a fair thing across the board. If it's going to be a zero tolerance approach for one person, it should be the same approach for everybody. And the prime minister, as the leader, must be held accountable for his actions.
Exactly. 110% agree with you, Dwayne. Right. And this is why this, programs like this, right, exist here. Right. People, let me say, I want people to go over Kamala Right Mango, right, and endorse Kamala Right Mango, right, another effective program. I want for persons to endorse Aromatic, right, and remember, you know, we're lonesome, right, man in the wilderness, you understand, endorse, and remember, reason with Ratigan, right, remember to do our endorsement with programs like these, right, you are getting well-informed information. And yes, Dwayne, we're moving on to the next question. What is your position where a minister of government breaches the Data Protection Act? Should that minister be prosecuted according to the law? If your answer is yes, please explain why.
Well, as long as we have the evidence that he has breached the Data Protection Act, he should face the full course of the law. I know the discussion that has been happening. They have, after we had put out the information saying they have breached it, I know he has claimed that he did not breach it because he got the information from one of our party members. I guess that will be hard to prove, but as long as it can be proved that he did violate and did breach the act, then he must face the full force of the law. That is my
Fully agree.
answer to that.
Fully agree. Fully agree. And I know that many Jamaicans who are listening to you, right, they also agree with you, sir. Right. I know the chat agree with you. What are your views on the many construction, housing, and commercial projects currently being undertaken in Jamaica and the technical persons such as engineers, quantity surveyors, etc., are unable to gain employment from these developers? You know, this question goes to, you know, our meritocracy system that we believe in, right? So please go ahead and answer that question.
Well, it's definitely a slap in the face to Jamaicans because
Yes.
they have a development in your own country. You have the necessary expertise. You went to school for this. You're invested in yourself, but yet you can't benefit from the large projects to make so for you to see where your investment is beneficial to you. So it's a sad situation. I think any investment that comes here, it must be a collaborative effort where our people are involved in a significant way. So any deal we're signing, we must sign it in a particular way where the work, significant amount of work is being done by our people. You can't have large contracts to develop this country where we can't have our own people assisted in it. Our same people are going to be the ones who are working at some of these places when the development is finished. So why can't we have them as a part of the development? So we can't only think about the sector who going to be doing the day-to-day jobs after the establishment is completed. We must think of the sector that is developing that particular establishment for you to be there in the first place. So I want people to think of it as a wholesome thing and realize that everybody must get a piece of the pie if you are qualified to do so. So I am not
Yes.
saying that people who are not qualified should be getting jobs in areas they're not qualified for. I'm saying if you're an engineer that you're qualified to do a particular job, if you have the necessary level of experience and expertise to do it, I can't see why you are not included in the process. So we have to look at these things, even with the Spark program that is coming on now. There was a major uproar about the Spark program because the requirements, no local contractor would be able to fit the requirements that they put out there. Or if they have any local contractors, it would be one or two. They have now recently stated, because of the backlash, that local contractors will be involved in the process. So we are waiting to see how they will be involved, because we know this government sometimes come and talk because people are bashing them. So we really are waiting to see how the involvement going to be and to see if our people really will be included in these types of developments. But it's a shameful situation as it stands now. And that is why we're having so much brain drain. That is why so many people are leaving with the technical skills and going abroad because they can't get the necessary opportunities here in their own country. So we have to set the playing field level so persons who are qualified to do whatever they should do can do it in their own country and don't necessarily have to leave.
Awesome, 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 awesome answers. I love that. I love it. Let me
A glimpse
just
of question, somebody asking if I'm willing to work with the diaspora to assist with resolving Jamaica's problems. The simple answer is yes.
okay, all right, we love that. We love that. All right. So we are getting to our final question, right? Before I asked Mr. Wayne to give us an exit speech in terms of explaining why we need to vote for Dwayne Vaz. So the last question, what are the PNP plans in regulating informal settlers so as to have them purchase titles for their lots they currently occupy? This is a hotbed issue for many Jamaicans.
Well, as I stated earlier in my priorities, I really had this in my priority. If you
Yes.
remember, PNP were the ones, if you remember the Operation Pride program back in the 90s, no, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, when Dr. Carl Blight was the Minister of Water and Housing, that program was geared towards exactly that, formalizing informal settlements, letting people have their titles. Some communities were sorted out, a lot of them weren't completed, and change of successive governments, we have not been able to get back to where we had started then. We need to
Yeah.
develop a comprehensive program, and we plan to. It is a part of the opposition's plan going forward to create a comprehensive policy where we can ensure that we regularize all these informal settlements. People don't understand how much these informal settlements create negative impacts on people's lives generally. So we must ensure that we formalize them. Persons can have a sense of pride that they own this particular piece of property and they can use their titles to do whatever they want to do with it also. So there is a plan from the PNP to do that. It's something that we are definitely prioritizing. As I stated earlier, it's in my top 4 priorities that must be done to get Jamaica to where we want it to be. So that is really at the forefront of our mission to get Jamaica people on a level playing field so we can bridge that gap between the haves and the have-nots.
Wow, awesome. For me personally, you are done extremely well. And I know that the chat is totally in love with you. Right now, we have more than 5,000 people, right, tune in, right? And we want to say, right, I'm going to give you this platform, right, to tell us, right, why, of course, the Jamaican people need to vote the PNP in and vote you in as a member of parliament. Go ahead.
Just before I answer, let me just answer the last question as it pop up on my screen again. I think you alluded to it earlier when you asked me, you were asking me about the representation from the diaspora and if persons should be able to vote. I think that's why we, as I said, we need to have a wholesome conversation with the new constitution that is coming in. I personally think that persons who are contributing positively to this country from abroad should be able to contribute to who is running the country also. So I have no issues with persons in diaspora being able to vote. And that is why we're changing the constitution now. So we need to have the discussion. We need to put these points forward so it can be a part of that final document when it is produced. So I think persons in the diaspora need to just get into the discussions, ensure you put all the points on the table. And as I said, I think it should be done. And whatever I can do to assist with putting the points forward from the diaspora, I will do so, just that. So back to the final question. I would say vote for Dwayne Vaz because we want to get Central Westmoreland back on track. When I say back on track, we need to start seeing infrastructural work being done again. We need to start seeing water projects again. We need to start seeing electricity regularization again. We need to see the sporting activities taking place again. We need to see more job fairs where we can create jobs for people again. We need to see the agricultural sector booming again. There are many things, many programs that I would have started in my time that we have faltered on because we had a change of member of parliament. We need to get back on track because time come for the People's National Party to lead Jamaica again because we are the only party that can bring Jamaica to where it is supposed to go. Time come for a leader of integrity to lead Jamaica. Time come for Mark Golding to be the next Prime Minister of Jamaica so we can implement the policies and programs across Jamaica that will make the masses of people benefit in their own country.
Wow, I love it, love it, love it. And I know that a lot of people love it. So people, there you have it. Dwayne Vaz, right? And he articulate quite well, right? And very prudent, right, in terms of offering solutions. I really, really love what being done here today.
I'm gonna ask the listeners and your viewers also to follow my social media platforms so you can keep in tune to the things I'm doing. So I'm on
Yes.
Facebook as Dwayne Vaz and Dwayne Vaz MP. I'm on Instagram as Dwayne Vaz1. I'm also on Twitter,
All
TikTok.
right.
So you name it. So just follow the platforms. You'll see the different things. We have a program every Monday called Power Talk Mondays where we discuss different issues. We have a program every Friday called The Word on the Street. That is more geared to the shadow minister portfolio that I have. So I also want persons to keep in communication with me. You will see the different platforms. You can contact me by that way also. And also my WhatsApp, my phone number on WhatsApp is 8874139. So there it
Yes.
is. Easy to find. If you call and don't get upset. Sometimes the phone's always ringing, so you can send me a WhatsApp message, and
All
I'll
right.
definitely return the call or WhatsApp as soon as I see it.
Okay, we have a caller here, right? Let me hear from this caller. All right. Thank you, caller, for calling in. You're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Good night, Mr. Vaz.
Okay, Mr. She said good night, Mr. Vaz.
Good night. Good night.
I am from Trelawney, but I love what I hear. I love it.
Okay.
I love it. And I give you thumbs up. And I look for the best from our comrades. I look for the best. And God be with you. And you be careful as a comrade because they don't love us. So you be careful. Bless up yourself. Stay blessed and stay strong. Love you.
All right.
All
Thank you
right.
very much. Appreciate it. Love you too.
All right. Thank you, caller, for your input. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Bless up. Bless up.
Bless up, bless up. All right.
Okay, Dwayne, just gonna because several persons has been asking in the chat, and one
Yes.
person is like, "Why are you not answering the question?" They're asking, "Are you related to the Darren Vaz?" We
If
know
I'm what?
that you're
Related to Darren Vaz.
Darren Vaz, but just to put their minds at ease, and the person keep asking the question, and I'm asking, "Why are you not answering the question?" So let me just
No, I did not see the question, but the simple answer is I'm going to tell you the truth. Based on a conversation with his father, who I met a couple years before he passed, and when the father asked me, that's Douglas Vaz, when he asked me where I'm from, and I told him I'm from Cave in Westmoreland, he told me that's where the family originated from. So he wanted to do some research to see how the relation goes. But based on what he said and where the family is from, we had accepted from then that we are far cousins. But
Okay.
neither me or Darrell has done in-depth research to see how close that would have been. But
All right.
based on the little information we have, yes, we would say we are far cousins.
Yeah. The comrades wouldn't mind you stay far than near.
You should be able to decode the last name. Hold on. It's a person.
Okay.
Hold on.
The person hung up?
No, the previous person hung up. Let me just clear this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, caller, for calling in. You're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Michelle Guthrie. Dwayne Vaz. I'm from Westmoreland. I'm from Bath District.
Oh, you're from Bath? Okay.
Bath District, just down the road from Savlamar, not Bath.
Yes, man, I know Bath District very well, man. Where in Bath are from? The Tivoli side or further up the road?
Okay, so no, I don't reach up to Tivoli side. I don't reach up to the ballroom.
Okay.
About the fifth house from Tarrington, from the crossroad on the left hand side.
Okay.
And so I was there recently, and I saw there's all this fencing around Bluefields Beach, and I'm wondering why they fence up the beach. That's one question. And my second question is, when you're MP, what are we going to do with Down the Wharf? A beautiful piece of real estate. Now, my thoughts are we should fix it up for the locals. If tourists want to come, fine. But let's concentrate on fixing it up for the locals. Negril is lost to us. Negril is not even nice for me anymore. When I come home, I don't enjoy Negril anymore. I think down by the wharf is a beautiful place to fix up for the locals to enjoy. What are your thoughts?
I think that's something we have always thought about. Actually, when I just turned member of parliament, I brought the then Minister of Tourism down there for that particular reason. That was Wickham McNeil at the time. And that was the same exact reason we wanted to see how we can develop that particular location. Because in every major city in the world, the waterfront is a major attraction. So I can't see why in Savlamar the waterfront is not. So we need to really put some serious investment and planning in getting back that area where it is supposed to be. But as I said, I brought him down there in 2015. We subsequently lost the election February 2016. We're in opposition until last in 2020. So no serious discussion really happened after that because they weren't in a position to be to influence it anyway. So it's something definitely I'll be bringing back to the table as soon as we return to government because it is a sore eye at the moment, and it is we know the potential that it can bring for not only Savlamar but for Westmoreland and Upper.
It's a beautiful place.
It is. With regards to Bluefields, I really don't have as much information to answer. You're going to do some more research on it. And I was hearing some issues. A part of it was private. I know the UDC had control of the beach park, but the part that the place that was fenced, I was hearing that belonged to I think Bluefields Bay, but it was that whole argument sound confrontation and contradictory as the residents were saying that is not so. So I really would have to do some more research to see what is happening at the Bluefields Beach. I know Bluefields is really in eastern, Westmoreland, and central. But as I said, I will definitely check it out because Bluefields is the first beach I went to as a child, and it's somewhere we continued going for up till now. We'll go to the Bluefields Beach. So it's somewhere, and it's the public feels comfortable going. So we really need to get it back to where it's supposed to be and don't let people feel that they are locked out of this particular beach. I know this government has a habit of locking out people from beaches, so we have to really look into those situations.
Traditionally, Bluefields is kind of the beach for the locals because Negril was so touristy. And now the small part of Negril that was for the locals, I hear that now they sell part of it. So I don't know how true that is. I mean, you know where it is that we go to the free part of Negril, you go through some barbed wire, go under barbed wire, and which is a whole other story for me. But the thing about Bluefields Beach, last year when I was there, the guest house, they actually put a barrier across the sand. And the guards were telling the kids that they can't cross the barrier to come on that side.
Yes.
Now, I was there a few weeks ago, and I don't see the barrier there anymore. The guards are not telling people to move. But my understanding is the guest house is trying to get more of the beach. So that pushes us away from where we normally bathe. I don't want to take up all the time. But the last thing I'm going to say to you is two more things. The ball ground up about, we need to make that into a nice park. I'm there. I'm willing to help out and be a part of it. The next thing I will say, the teacher's cottage down at Stratbogie, let's think about turning that into a community center.
Okay.
Are you aware of the teacher's cottage I'm talking about down at Stratbogie?
I'm trying. That's around the Stratbogie or Backhatfield you're referring to?
No, on the main road of Stratbogie.
On the main road.
You know the teacher's cottage where the old school was, or if you're not from the area, you may not know. You know where the
Yeah,
post office
I'm from Sub, so
land there, that is a government land that I think is a great place for us to build a community center. Now I
okay.
have a little thing that I've been doing. I cook on Sundays. I send money down and they cook at Strike Bogey right there by the old post office. If you know
Okay.
where it is. And that is
I think I
something
know what we're talking, but is a discussion I think we should have. So I think you should record the phone number and really reach out to me and we can have just send me a message and we can have a discussion on it.
Oh, I plan to with you and Dandan and the Froome division.
Yes,
Mr.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
thank you. I don't want to take up any more time. It was a pleasure.
All right. Okay.
All right. Thank you for calling in.
No problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Blessings. All right. There we have it. We want to say, Dwayne, a big thank you for making it Mystic Sensation. And I know for sure that this is not your last visit, right?
Definitely.
We're looking forward to have you again, right? We want to say, we appreciate your appearance and we want to say a big thanks to you, sir. All right.
And I also want to thanks for the opportunity to be on the program. I really enjoyed it. And I think it's a very good program and I'll definitely continue promoting it also. So I said looking forward to being on it again also. So happy to be here.
Hold on, we have another caller. Hold on. Yes, caller. Thank you for calling Mystic Sensation. You're live. Yes, you want to turn down the device in the background there?
Hello?
Yeah, you have to turn the device off. You have a device in the background there.
Hello?
Can you please turn off your device that in the background?
Hello?
Yes, yeah. You're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, man. I like how gentleman sound.
Okay.
Very intelligent.
All right.
Good plan. Young and brilliant minds need to get rid of the top man in the Labour Party there. The problem, he's not doing a good job. It's a total disgrace. We need people like Dwayne Vaz to take over and work with Mark Golden and get back Jamaica on track again.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, he said thanks and he appreciate what you said. All right. And thank you for your input.
Okay.
All right. Our next caller is coming in.
Okay. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Seems like they're rushing in now. Yes, caller, you're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Is Mr. Vaz still on?
Yes, Mr. Vaz is still on.
Yeah, so Mr. Vaz, let me say this to you. Not impressed with you. Regarding your recall opinion, how could you not want to place that in the Constitution where it gives people the power? I mean, to me, you sound like the Andrew Holness administration. How can you be in opposition and you're agreeing with them?
Agreed with what?
Could you make a statement like that?
What statement was that?
The recall efforts. I don't understand you, man.
What statement was that?
You were saying earlier in the program, I've never called this program before, but I watch it fairly frequently.
Yes.
You're saying you disagree with the recall efforts, to put the recall in the Constitution.
So put the impeachment in the Constitution?
How could you, give me a second, how could you
No,
say something like that? How could
yes.
you not put that in the Constitution where it gives people the power? It almost sounds like you're protecting yourself.
No, man, you heard what I said clearly. What I'm saying, there are some current provisions in the Constitution that we can improve on before we even think of impeachment. But what I also said was that more discussions must be held on it, and then we can make a final decision. Says that I'm against impeachment. What I'm saying is that there are currently some laws there that if we strengthen, may serve the same purpose. But when we finish those discussions and we realize that impeachment would be more effective than those laws that are currently there if we strengthen them. Then we go with impeachments. I was never saying that we would not do that.
Mr. Vaz, impeachment should be in the Constitution. Recall should be in
Well,
the Constitution.
there are persons like you who have a strong feeling on that, and we must have the discussion, especially now when the Constitution is being changed. That's why I'm saying that any law we want to put in there now, this is the time now for all these discussions to be held and all the points to come forward so we can put them in.
All right, hold on, Dwayne. Hold on. Carla, to be truthful, as it relates to Miss Dwayne, right? He did not go against not having an impeachment, right? He was saying, right, that there is room for discussion on the situation. And if you remember clearly where I use the scenario as it relates to the Prime Minister, right? Remember that he had observed that, right, as one of the factors that would consider. So he did not say that he doesn't agree for impeachment to be in the Constitution. So we have to make that clear. He did not say that.
Well, okay, maybe he did not say that, but he did say recall. I heard it. And I think he's saying there are crimes on the book to do that type of stuff. Well, if that's the case, how come Mr. Wright wasn't even arrested? How come he wasn't prosecuted? The system that we have is clearly not working. And it's time to give the people of Jamaica their power because they've never had it.
So, Carla, that is exactly what I said. That is exactly what I said. The current thing in the Constitution, if strengthened, you understand?
All right, hold on. Hold on.
That you don't want to give the people back the power. That's a problem. It sounds like you're protecting yourself too.
No, I could never be protecting them. But what I'm just telling you is that if we strengthen what we currently have, because what we have now needs to be strengthened, I did say that. You understand? So it's either strengthen what you currently have or you think of impeachment. But I think what I'm just simply saying, if we strengthen the current laws that we have and enforce them, then we wouldn't even need to discuss impeachment because it would be effective. But as I said, if we are reluctant to do that, then fine. I don't have any problem with impeachment if we are reluctant to strengthen the laws that we currently have. So I'm in no shape or form siding with them, Carla. So sorry if you misunderstood what I was trying to say.
No, I don't misunderstand anything. You can't strengthen something that doesn't exist. There's no recall in the Constitution. So how dare you strengthen something that does not exist?
But no, there's a law in the Constitution for members of Parliament and senators to be held accountable. That's what I'm saying. It is there. So it's for us. So what I'm saying is you can't say it is non-existent. You can't straighten it. Something is there, but it's for us now to decide if we are going to straighten what is there or put in something that is not there. That's all I was saying.
When was the last time a politician went to prison?
Hold on. Let me hold on, Carla. Let me hold on. Dwayne.
Yes.
Let me speak to the caller. Okay, we want to be fair as it relates to the Constitution, right? As it relates to certain laws that will hold politicians accountable. What we have, Carla, let me just explain it to you. Where we have the criminal justice system, and let me explain this to you. We have three sectors of the criminal justice system, right? We have the investigation arm, right? We have the prosecutorial arm, and we have the judiciary arm. Now, as it relates to the Constitution, where you have the investigation arm and the prosecution that fails, right, to put a case into the judiciary, right? Well, that's a problem. We have seen where people have gone into the judiciary, and let us be fair here. We have seen Jack Smith, who was placed into the judiciary and being punished. We have seen other persons who have put into the judiciary and be punished. So we have to be fair in terms of what
I didn't really read now before the courts have something like that.
Right. Exactly. And so then
Royal Reed was arrested and his case has been dormant for like 5 years.
Yes. Well, hold on, Dwayne. So in terms of that, in terms of the history that we have with Jack Smith, right, and a lot more, right? We have roughly about 8 politicians who had put through the judiciary. right, from 1954 until now, and they have been prosecuted. So I don't think that Dwayne was saying that, okay, all right, he doesn't agree with the impeachment. That wasn't what I got from him, right? He was talking about room for dialogue, right?
No, Mr. Mystic Sensation.
Yes.
I'm talking about what he said about the recall. Okay, it's a recall that I heard him on.
Okay.
He says that it's not a good idea, and he was giving reasons why it's not a good idea. He did say maybe they should have more discussions on it.
Yes.
But to me, it's about the people of Jamaica, right? It's about the people of Jamaica, and anything you can put in that constitution, because what I've seen so far is nonsense, right? What I've seen so far, they might as well not change it. They might as well keep what they have, right? He is very disappointing to me. Okay, and I still wish him well when he goes to the poll, but he's very disappointing to me. He can't be peddling the same lines like what I hear from the other side. The other side, which in my opinion is like the worst government ever assembled in Jamaica. It's just the worst. There's just too many things going on with this government, too much corruption and all that. So he can't be peddling the same line. Mr. Vaz, you're in opposition. You're supposed to oppose. And you and I know that recall should be in the Constitution. You and I know that the other things, and you may agree with the other things, but you can't come on a program and say that, well, it's probably not a good idea because people may be biased and all that type of stuff. People are always going to be biased, okay? One side always probably going to dislike the other side, but that's how politics is. That's the way politics is. So you can't worry about that. What you do is to put as much in the Constitution where people are given their power, because they've never been given their power. People ought to be given back their power. We shouldn't be wondering and speculating, for example, and you didn't say anything about that. We shouldn't be wondering and speculating when Andrew Hornis is going to call an election. That should be set in stone, okay? That is something that we should know, just like in so many other countries. So what I'm saying to you is, sir, I am very disappointed.
But Carla, the same points you're making now is the same thing I just said. That's why I said is there should be serious discussions on the matter so we can put them in the new constitution. If you don't come forward with the different points to straighten that particular argument, it will not go in the constitution. So we need as much persons who believe that is what should happen to bring their opinions to the table so it can go there. All I simply said was that currently there are some laws there. The problem in Jamaica is enforcement. That is the issue in Jamaica, enforcement. If we should enforce the laws that we have, some of the discussions we wouldn't even be having. That's all I said. So the only reason I said we have to consider if we really want to go impeachment, because as I said, impeachment sometimes can have political bias. It can. So it's something we have to look into. It's a discussion that has to be had. And when the discussions now are finalized, and you can come to a final conclusion. That is where then we go that particular way. So it's not that I was saying I'm against this or against that. So that's why I said if you misunderstood what I said, I was wanting to clear that up.
And
okay.
I understand you. I think I'm clear here. Politics is a partisan sport. That's what it is. And people are always going to be biased. One party is
yes, but when you mentioned earlier that I'm the opposition to oppose, that is not necessarily so you oppose objectively. You don't oppose for the sake of opposing,
because you sound like the other party. I cannot decipher really what. If I did
so
not
because we disagree on a point, I'm sounding like another party.
I would have.
All right, caller. Okay, all right.
Mr. Mystic, Mrs. Mystic, thank you very much.
Thank you
very much, Mr. Vaz, for
yeah, I guess we can agree to disagree, caller. That is how it is.
All right.
Oh, that's fine. I'm not upset with you. I'm just disappointed in what you said.
No, I'm not upset either. I'm just saying we can agree to disagree based on your interpretation of what I said. So.
All right. Have a good night.
Yes. So have a good night. And as I said, the discussions have to continue on that particular thing. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. All right.
Oh, good night.
Yes. Good night, caller. You're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good night. Good night.
Yes. Good night.
All right. On the point of what the caller say, the caller must understand that Mr. Vaz said
when it comes to the impeachment, there are laws that are here already. The problem what Jamaica have right now is that the laws them are not enforced.
Perfectly right.
And the problem stop at the DPP. There are plenty persons in the political arena who is to be charged and do not charge. What he said about the impeachment, it can be biased. Because through me and you a PMP, me I got take up for you. Me and you are labor, me I got take up. But when you go through the judicial process, there will be no bias in it.
Exactly.
The 3 arms away, you lay out mystic,
Yes.
the prosecution, the this, the that. And then you put it to the DPP, and the DPP act. Even in a Royal Reed case, uno system is not that the court system does not work. It's part of no no work. So no nobody will know if I put it talking and
Perfectly right, Patricia.
What the
Perfect.
young man said is like, yeah, if you call it bread,
Yes.
if you call it not bread, still bread. So when they call the system impeachment, back impeachment, that's what it means. It means to say system are there to prosecute.
Yes.
But the prosecutor prosecuting. So whether you use impeachment, back impeachment, front impeachment, it doesn't really matter. So the box stop a Paul and Llewellyn coincident with Andrew Wallace and him, Minnie and them. That's when the corruption start.
Exactly.
So nobody take your twist to see.
Exactly.
So if you say it makes sense to increase car, if you me a member of parliament and me do something, me a friend, body, and they say impeachment, we are vote for impeachment. Me a vote against him, say why nobody impeach him. You are vote. One man vote and say yes by the conscience. But when you go through the judicial system and once the judicial system work properly, effectively, without favor and bias, it will work.
And that was clear.
That is it. So,
That,
is clear.
that was clear coming from Mr. Vaz.
Yeah.
That was very clear. Yes. That was very
That is exactly what I would say.
Dissect.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So, and Patricia, and let me say this, Patricia, and I thank you for calling with that, because what Mr. Vaz was saying, right? He wasn't saying that he disagree with impeachment, right? Room for dialogue as it relates to the impeachment process. Now, in terms of impeachment, the impeachment can be biased, and I do agree with him, because when you have like what we have now, Andrew Holness-led government has 49, right? And the People's National Party has 14, right? I mean, said we did have the impeachment. They are not going to vote without Andrew Holness, even if we did have the impeachment. And that is what Mr. Daz is saying, that it will be still biased along the line. So people, when we listen and we process, then we deliver, but we have to listen keenly and dissect properly. And so then that is the problem.
Simple mistake.
Thank you for calling, Pat.
That's why I'm glad for them each way. Because who not get to go way up and so. It come on, just listen.
Exactly.
And understand.
Exactly.
It's simple, because if right now, if you say impeach Andrew Holness, 14 of PMP can vote against 49.
Perfectly right.
Perfect. And the majority will win.
Exactly.
So if the jury system work the proper way, you investigate him,
yeah,
and find say clean. You put the investigation and you put it on the arrest people,
yes,
and you submit it to the DPP for charge.
Exactly.
And when the DPP say yes, charge, then the police will charge, lock him up.
Yes.
Give bail if we get bail. And the argument done. This long run. Sometimes, see, I mean, I say degree and masters no good, but street smarter the best one.
Well, I mean, you understand quite clearly what Mr. Vaz was saying, and Mr. Vaz, right, clearly did not say that, okay, all right, he doesn't agree with impeachment, right? We talk about room for dialogue, and he show you as it relates to you understand, the disadvantage of the impeachment clause, where it can be biased, and there is no joke that it can be biased as it relates to what we have now. Andrew Holness led government 49, PNP have 14. There's no member of the Jamaica Labour Party that was going to vote for Andrew Holness to be impeached if there was an impeachment act. So that is just what Mr. Vaz was saying, right?
Yes.
And that should be clear. That was very clear, right? I think for me, Mr. Vaz did excellent, right? He answered all the questions. He articulated himself, right? And I really give him a 10 out of 10 tonight, honestly, right? I think that Mr. Vaz did quite well and awesomely. That is my subjective opinion, and many people
All right,
Okay.
agree with that.
let me say something to Mr. Vaz.
All right.
Mr. Vaz, good evening.
Yes.
You respect you, follow you a long time from your baby, so you don't turn man, and Roger Clark portfolio. No, I could be your mom probably. What I see this Jamaica turn to the politics. The politics is not like that. This politics is a tribal. Andrew Holness and the millionaire will do anything to gain power. You're a bright man and you see what happening in the other part of the world. Now to you and all member of parliament to be councillors, PMP activists where have different portfolio, different. I am asking you, please, to be very, very, very careful. Don't even think of shaking their hand at a meeting. If you and them have to have a meeting, Zoom. You hear where Dr. Dan said? God was by his side. You see what happened to Jailan and Silvera? Please, open your eyes, open your ears. Think. If you don't have to go a meeting, carry on no water with you. No make nobody serve you no water.
Yes.
If you don't want ice it mean walk with them in no pocket. You understand?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
give me a driver where I drive you. Jamaica reach a place where down to them mama then we sell out for money.
Yes. Yes.
Uno yai. Me a begging you. Oh, uno yai. Even the same PMP they will say them a round, you know. They licky. A man we call them and say me as you 10,500,000 because they keep we hungry. We turn against each other. Be extra careful and remember, pray without ceasing. And when you pray, shut up on the eye. Turn to the east. When the sun rays in the morning, walk your hand wide when your eye wide. Yourself.
All right. All right.
Thank
Yeah, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. All right.
All right. Thank you.
So, we got back to class. I missed it.
Yes.
You know, Anne Marie, our teacher, our principal, and
Thank you.
we can't in all these lovely young mind, young people that can lead me further.
Exactly.
On.
Exactly.
So, big up yourself, we got back to class.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr. Vaz, you make the class spirit proud.
All
Big up
right.
yourself, young man.
Yes.
All right. Thanks. Good night. Good night.
Big up yourself.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
All right.
Patricia.
And let me say this categorically clear as it relates to what Mr. Vaz said, because I'm going to Mr. Vaz has extended his time for us, right? And let me say that, right? He did extremely well, right? And we love, right? What he's doing, his energy, right? And you know, definitely getting to the source of the issues, right? And find solution, implementing solution where that is concerned. We have seen where impeachment situation in the United States, and we have seen where it can be biased. Did Mr. Vaz speak any falls on that no, right? And so I understand where he's coming from, right? And he open room for dialogue where that is concerned. So we are not to take away tonight that Mr. Vaz is saying that he does stand for impeachment. That is not what he was saying, right?
Okay.
So then we need to get it clear. But Mr. Vaz, I want to say, right, a big thanks, right? I'm not
Yes.
going to extend your time anymore, right? You've done well, and we appreciate, and we're looking forward, sir, for you to come back on Mystic Sensation.
Yes.
All
Thank you
right?
again for having me. Have a good night.